Chris Herring of the Wall Street Journal covers the Knicks with us. Armin and Levac, 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Brady Farkas, Andrew Williams sitting in for Armin and Levac today. And Chris, the Knicks, they've been the definition of up and down. They win 4, now they've lost 4 straight. And is this due to Derek Fisher making some changes in his lineup? Where is this inconsistency coming from?
Not really anything new for this team. Maybe this year, people are taking more note of it because they've done it in such a short amount of time. But looking at it, if you look back to the year that they picked up Carmelo Anthony in 2010, 2011, they've had 16 stretches where they've won 3 games and then 3 games or more and then lost 3 in a row right after they've done that, or the reverse of that where they've lost 3 and then won 3 or more right after that. And they've done that 16 times, which is the most in the league. It's an unstable organization all the way around. They've had more players on their team and suit up and play over the last 7 or 8 years than any other team in the league. They've had more injuries than any team in the league over that span of time. They've had people that are relatively inconsistent players on the team over that time. When you look at guys like J.R. Smith and Tim Hardaway Jr., they don't have anybody quite that up or down this year. But it's just a team, they've gone through some lineup changes and they've got a new group of guys out there. And so you're going to have nights where they play well. And quite frankly, I think this year maybe it's more a function of their schedule, where they just have really, really easy teams where they're playing Philly twice in a 10-day span. And then on the flip side of that, now you've got them playing Atlanta 3 times in a 10-day span. So when you play better opponents and you have mostly role players on your team, you're going to struggle. And, we shouldn't be fooled by them reeling off a couple of games in a row when they've got a soft schedule, or when they play really tough teams like they are now, 10 games in a row against teams 500 or better. And, I think it's a function of the schedule right now as to why they're struggling.
And, Chris, speaking of injuries, Carmelo Anthony's ankle, how worried are the Knicks? I know he sat out that game, but are there any extensive worries that could be worse than he's talking about?
No, I don't think so. He's shot, I think, 50% for the last 7-8 games overall. He's probably been their best player lately. He should be with the kind of money he makes and everything, but no, I think he's fine. He was one of the only guys that was really able to contribute the other night, and I'm sure he'll be okay.
Chris Herring of the Wall Street Journal covers the Knicks with us. Armin Levac, 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Brady Farkas, Andrew Williams sitting in. And Chris, here in the Capital Region, we are just wondering when Jimmer Fredette is going to get to call up to anybody, but we'd love it to be for the Knicks. He's killing it right now in the D-League, shooting 50%. Does Jimmer have any chance to get to the Knicks once we get to the 10-day contract period?
I'm not sure what he gives them that they don't have. He can shoot the ball. The guy that they have running the team for them now, it's one of the few things he's able to do, and Jose Calderon. So they're not really short on guys that can shoot it. His ability to get to the rim, D-League is kind of known for not playing the most stringent defense. And so I'm not sure that, what he's been able to do at that level translates perfectly. The thing that he'd struggled with before he went to the D-League at the professional level was his ability to shoot it from deep. And so, if he can do that, and maybe if they give him a shot at the NBA level and he's able to do that at the level that he was able to do it in college, or maybe right at the beginning of his NBA career, then so be it. But, the thing is, I just don't think that the offense fits him all that well. I don't really know that it would do a lot to get him open. And it's not an offense that really would allow him to get to the basket more than he was able to do at his previous stops. So I'm not sure when that call will come for him. The Knicks clearly need some help on offense, but I'm not really sure what box he checks off that they don't already have players that do pretty well at the things that he thrives in.
Chris Herring of the Wall Street Journal with us on Armin and Levac, 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com.
The Knicks take on Detroit Pistons tonight. Is there any type of chance the Knicks could be looking at Brandon Jennings and maybe a future trade piece, maybe him coming to the Knicks at some point as that point guard that they need?
Definitely a chance. He does some things that they could use, kind of the opposite of Jimmer, where he's a little bit more athletic and can get into the paint. He is coming off a major injury, and he's also a player that comes off the books this summer, so you wouldn't want to give up a whole lot to get him. If they could swing a deal where for some reason the Pistons were willing to take Calderon off their hands, they would do that in a heartbeat because Calderon's contract goes for a year longer than Jennings does. But the thing is, I don't think that you want to mess up the chemistry of the team too much and give away guys that might be able to help you in the future. You definitely don't want to give up picks for someone that you're only getting for 1 year. And is coming off a major injury, and quite frankly, that the jury is still out as to whether he's really that good a player. We just talked about the ups and downs that they've had and the inconsistencies that they've had. And Brandon Jennings is a player that's kind of exactly what he is a relatively inconsistent player. He holds the ball too long at times and is not the best distributor. He's not a great shooter. He's kind of up and down with the shot. So I'm not completely sure it would be worth it to give a whole lot to get him. But if you could somehow unload one of your longer-term deals to get his short-term deal and end up with more cap space this summer, then you'd absolutely look into that.
Are the Knicks, are they going to make a move before the deadline? Are they in a position really to make a move? I mean, they're sitting 4 games out of even the 8th spot in the East.
You know, again, I don't necessarily know that it makes a lot of sense to move heaven and earth to do something just because you're sniffing the playoff race. We knew the team was going to be considerably better than they were last year, but the truth is you don't want to get caught up in this chase of looking at how close you are to the playoffs and then valuing that more than, you know, your future when you've got finally have a player that looks like you might be able to build around long term in Porzingis. You don't want to give away help, you know, for someone that could help you for the next couple of years. It's on a good contract. You don't want to do that to just make the playoffs. You know, I guess last year there was a clear incentive to lose. This year, because they don't have a draft pick in this upcoming draft, you know, a lot of people would like to see them make the playoffs, and I'm sure all fans want that. But at the same time, you don't want to mortgage part of your future and, you know, a draft pick or a player that is on a good contract for the next few years. You don't want to give up something like that now to make the playoffs this year, because it's really not. If it's just going to be a first-round exit, I'm not sure what the point of that is. And based on where they're positioned and how many teams in the East have a winning record, you're not going to get more than a 7 or 8 seed, and that's kind of a long shot at this point, I think.
Chris Herring of the Wall Street Journal with us, Armin Levac, 104.5 The Team. Chris, thank you very much for all your coverage in 2015. We look forward to talking to you after the new year.
Not a problem at all. Thank you guys for having me.